All right. This is episode 35 of the Battle of Ohio podcast. We are currently in the middle of day 2 of free agency. As we record this, when you listen to this, it most likely will be not day 2 of free agency anymore because it takes us a couple days to edit these and get them uploaded. But yeah, right now we're in the middle of day 2 of free agency, and things took a little while to get going. I'm not sure if there was like people haven't do all that extra math because of like the COVID strain on the salary cap and all that. And but once it did get going, there's been some pretty big moves so far. And the Bengals, weirdly enough, which this is not something I would have said last night. I was actually, if you follow me on Twitter, you can see I was actually kind of not very happy last night. But the Bengals, now as we speak, at 2:00 p.m. on day 2 Eastern Standard Time. Well, actually now Eastern Daylight Time because we had Daylight Savings Time. But anyway, Bengals have been the most active team in the AFC North so far, which is kind of weird. The Browns have been kind of uncharacteristically quiet. And the Steelers too, although they're usually quiet. But you know why, Thomas?
Because Steelers still suck.
Because the Steelers still suck. All right.
You're still stuck in Pittsburgh.
Welcome to the Battle of Ohio podcast, where we follow the revival of the historic rivalry between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns.
I love saying that.
I look forward to saying that every week.
I absolutely look forward. That's the best part of every episode is saying that. It was annoying when they were winning all the time, but now that they are easy targets, it's a lot more fun.
Yeah. Yeah, they are easy targets. Let's attack them while they're down, like they attacked us like while we was down all those years.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to be completely honest with you. Like, I don't normally get like this about most things, but Steelers fans have just been gigantic shitbags for my entire life, and like about some shit that ain't even really that damn serious. So, I mean, you want to know why I talk shit about the Steelers every single episode? It's because Steelers fans have been giant fucking bitches my entire life. They've been sore winners. So, you know what? I'm like, y'all are getting what you deserve. So, sorry. I know not all Steelers fans are like that, but quite a few of them have been, and it's definitely made an impression on me. So,
Freaking hate Steelers fans, man.
The outpouring of salt from me right now is.
I don't know. See, Ravens fans, they're just like hard to the nose, but they're not like as douchey. They're just like Raven fans are like fact driven.
I have not yet met a Ravens fan that I actually have a problem with, honestly. Like,
yeah, but they like what Ravens fans would do is they'll say something that's correct. They'll just say it in a way you wouldn't like it, but you'd be like, well, you're not wrong, so you can't really get mad at it. Like, they'd be like, we literally beat y'all. They're like, we have an 800% winning percentage against y'all since y'all came back. Y'all have nothing y'all can say this. Like, well, you're right, though. That is true. But I still hate y'all. Or like anytime I make the argument that the Ravens stole our team, which they did, F y'all, Baltimore, they're a throwback statistic. They're throwback. Well, only the Ravens only retained like three or four players from the original from the championship team that won the Super Bowl winning team. Like, it was only 3 or 4 players that won the Super Bowl that were actually on the Browns. The Ravens' first Super Bowl. That's always the argument that Browns fans say that the Ravens run Super Bowl, the Browns team. Well, actually, there's only 2 or 3 players. Something crazy like that. It wasn't a lot. So, like, you can't really get mad at us for taking 3 or 4 players from an old team winning a Super Bowl, which is true. But that still took our team, though. That still took our team.
That's you still stole their team. And, I mean, a better argument, I think, would be like, well, we had our team stolen, so... I mean, that's still a bad argument because
I think that's the worst argument.
Why would you want to put somebody else through that? But
it'll be like it'd be like if I go like somebody stole my car, so I go steal somebody else's car.
So anyway, let's go ahead and
get
into the meat of this podcast, though, because we've got some signings to talk about. We'll go ahead and talk. We don't have nearly as much to talk about with the Browns, so I guess let's go ahead and talk about the Browns first, and then we can get into the Bengals, which I've got a lot to say about the Bengals and how they've been approaching free agency so far. Not all bad, not all good, But anyway, the Browns, like I said, haven't really been doing much in free agency. They haven't even really been re-signing their own players much.
Yeah.
But they did sign John Johnson, the strong safety from the Los Angeles Rams, to a 3-year, $33.75 million deal. $24 million of that was guaranteed, which is a huge upgrade at strong safety for the Browns.
They need it.
Likely taking Andrew Sendejo's job.
Yeah, Bison Jehu. I like this. I like that they did this a lot. I like that this was the first move because it addressed the biggest issue on the Browns. So if the Browns just stay packed, right? If they go like, all right, you know what? We got Myles Garrett. We'll resign. We're gonna bring back Ogunjobi. We got Livian Vernon. And we're gonna get some more defensive line players in the draft.
Right.
Defensive line could grow organically. I'm sorry, I can't speak to that. Organically. That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But not addressing that secondary would be a gross miscalculation. Because the problem with our defense was our secondary. The Browns did a good job defending the run last year. It wasn't the fact that they couldn't stop the run, because the Browns did a really good job of stopping the run. The problem with the Browns is that you could pass all over his team. So you're getting Grant Delpit back. He was the rookie that we drafted last year, who I actually had a lot of hope for out of LSU, who actually tore his Achilles. Hopefully he'll be young and he should be able, hopefully he can come back from that Achilles injury. I don't know. But yeah, so you got the Achilles injury. With Grant Delpit. So you got him coming back. You still have, hopefully you get Greedy Williams back, and then with that you also have Rodney Harris, who's a really good safety, and then it kind of gives you more depth at that position, in that DB position, and that secondary. So I freaking love the fact that this is their first move, because this was the most needed moves that they need to do. Now I do hope they spend more money on defense during the offseason, but this was the move they had to make, and I'm happy that this was the person they went after first.
Yep, it definitely seems like a good signing. He was really good with the Los Angeles Rams. A lot of actually Bengals fans were talking about potentially targeting him because even though Zach Taylor was an offensive guy, there's that connection with the Rams there. Personally, I don't think we need to change what we got at safety, because we got like Jesse Bates and Von Bell. I think that's more than good. But the Browns for sure. I didn't think your safeties were bad. Like Andrew Sendejo in particular, I thought was fine. And in fact, actually, when you guys signed him, I was like, that's a good signing there. But it's definitely an upgrade. You guys definitely getting a lot better at that position.
Nah, man. Andrew Sendejo was just a punching bag joke for the entire
Okay, so that's the impression I've been getting from you, like doing this podcast, because you're always talking trash about him. I'm like,
well, yeah, but
I don't think he's that bad. But
okay,
I'm also not a Browns fan. I don't watch all the Browns games.
Let me tell you how bad Cleveland fans hate Andrew Sendejo. Me personally, compared to most Browns fans, have been really nice to Andrew Sendejo. That's how much Browns fans hate that man. Wow. I don't hate him, but don't hate him. They just don't think that he's good at his position. You don't suck. You're just not good at your job.
I'm actually kind of curious here.
I can see some memes.
I'm curious as to what the difference in production was between these two players, actually, as far as far as stats go. Oh.
I mean, every single time they threw the ball at him, every single time they threw the ball towards Andrew St. Jehu's direction, the other team caught it.
Let's see what we got here. Well, actually, just from a statistics perspective, in 2020, John Johnson played all 16 games, recorded only 1 interception, batted down 8 passes, or defensed 8 passes. So basically, he was directly responsible for 8 passes not being caught. As far as like him interfering with the pass and not in an illegal way. 73 tackles, 105 total tackles. So that was his stat line last year. And Andrew Sendejo, I can just tell you looking at the average value there, definitely not as good. Got a forced fumble, so that's something that John Johnson.
Oh, congratulations, Andrew Sendejo! Oh, no. You made one good play all season.
John Johnson did do that once in 2018. No interceptions, so Johnson's got him beat there. Wow, 67 tackles. That's.
I mean, Sendejo played hard, and he used to be good back in the day.
Yeah, I thought he was really good with the maybe not really good, but definitely like I thought the Vikings were downgrading when they moved on from him.
Hey man, look, what happens when you age. I don't know. That's like the worst take ever.
That's what happens when you age. We hate old people here.
I mean, like, let's be real. I mean, like you know, I mean, a lot of times players and people be like, "Oh yeah, they used to be so good. What happened to them?" I don't know. They age like that. That's what happens, man. You hit 30. You know, I mean, athleticism. You're not as fast and as strong. You know, it's just nature. Unless you're like LeBron James. Like I don't know how the hell he's doing it. I don't know how he's doing it.
Well, it's not just him. Look at like Tom Brady, for example.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, you know, we are in a new age where people are finding ways to extend their body lifetime like we never seen before. But no, I'm not. I don't think. I think Sendejo. I think I watched Sendejo play, and there's plays that he sold off his body to. He plays hard. He plays hard. I give him that. He's never seen him give up on play. I'm not sure what kind of voice he was in the locker room because I'm not in the locker room, so I wouldn't know that. But I could tell you that watching him, he does not look like he. It oftentimes seemed like he was a weakness in that second. Very oftentimes.
Oh wow!
And I'm just not a fan.
So I finally found these stats. So John Johnson III is his full name. He was a top 5 rated safety last year, actually, according to Pro Football Focus. He had a overall defensive grade of 85.6, and actually across the board, except for looks like he was pretty trash in pass rush. So don't expect him to do any pass rushing, guys. But outside of that, it looks like he was almost across the board the most consistently high graded safety in the NFL. Actually, Jesse Bates was the highest graded safety last year. Flex, go Bengals. But when it comes to things like run defense and tackling, John Johnson III actually rated higher than Jesse Bates in both those categories. It's just because Jesse Bates rated higher in coverage and somewhat higher in pass rush. So that's why Jesse Bates is rated higher. But Andrew Sendejo is, oh wow, he's not even in the top 50.
I told you that he's trash. I'm like he's like
wow.
You're like, why are you so hard on Andrew Sendejo? I just think he was good. Yeah, he aged. He's old. You're old, Sendejo.
Now it's for what it's worth, it's only giving me the top 50 players. I can't go down any farther and find Sendejo.
Go to football hospice, Andrew Sanjay, who your career is about to die.
Okay, so Anderson Day.
Y'all
Oh
gonna
my
rewind
God.
for that joke, by the way.
Oh my God. That is horrible. He was not only Anderson Dejo was actually the worst rated safety on the entire Browns roster. Like, holy crap. He graded 42.6 on the whole season.
Yeah.
My God. Look at me. Like, I'm over here like, oh, he's not that bad. He's terrible, man. Wow.
Yeah, he aged.
Holy
Yeah.
crap.
I told you every single time that threw the ball, his direction. Go back. Everybody just go back and rewind our whole thing. By the way.
He had a 39.3 grade in coverage. 39.3 over the whole year. That's not one game.
Yeah.
That's the average of every game he played this year, which was 14 games, which was more, by the way, he had more games played than any other Cleveland safety this year, and yet graded 39.3 in coverage. My God. And
the Browns were 7 points away from beating the Kansas City Chiefs. With that guy as our safety.
Wow. Unbelievable. But yeah, so I guess we'll go ahead and say John Johnson III is probably about the biggest upgrade that you could have made on the entire team. Not only did you get in borderline elite safety, but you replaced a borderline college safety.
Like I told you, man. Like I just said, I'm gonna repeat this. They're gonna say it again. Andrew Sinjehu, go to football hospice. Your career is about to die.
Did you previously say that?
I did previously say that, and that's why I said y'all go to rewind that to hear that joke again because that's freaking hilarious.
That is kind of funny. I don't recall you saying.
No, I just said that like 3 minutes. Anyway, we just started a segment on this show called the Football Hospice. Who deserves to be in the football hospice? Drew Brees.
One player who doesn't deserve to be in football hospice is Rashard Higgins.
No,
he played pretty well, especially considering his role as the third option at wide receiver for Baker Mayfield. At least as far as the original depth chart is considered. So I know you wanted to bring up some points about Rashard Higgins and his free agency bid right now. What did you want to say, Thomas?
Personally, I would love to see Rashard Higgins resign with the Browns. I would love. I mean, talk about somebody who retweeted my tweet. I think Rashard Higgins got a lot of upside. But I think realistically, the Browns are spending more money on receiver than almost any other team in the league. In fact, they are paying more money on receiver than any other team in the league. The two receivers, Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham, taking up a large amount of contract. I think that should be enough to. When you have Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry are two really good receivers. Then you have this kid Donovan Peoples-Jones, who I think have a really, really, really high upside. I think that kid is going to be special. I think that kid got a lot of upside. He's fast, he's quick, and him being a third option behind Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry, to have those two mentor him, I think that'd be great. Then you got Rashard Higgins. So you ask yourself, well, we have these problems in defense. We have these defects in defense. We give Rashard Higgins this sizable contract, but at the same time, if we do that, we might be compromising the rest of our team, but we really need to upgrade our defense. Rashard Higgins is probably not going to be able to get the same amount of money from Browns that he would be able to get from another team. And that's so unfortunate because I freaking love Rashard Higgins with a passion. He retweeted one of my tweets.
So I ask you again, why not just trade Odell Beckham Jr.?
Because
you can re-sign Rashard Higgins and you can bring somebody else in. And then, you got so many, like you said, you got so many talented wide receivers. You got that Donovan Peoples-Jones kid who's coming up. So why not just ship Odell Beckham Jr. off? You still got plenty of wide receivers to deal with. You got
I don't think trading. I just think Odell Beckham Jr. is you're not. I don't think you're going to lose, even if you just run it back for just 1 year. I just don't think that trading Odell Beckham right now is a good idea. For one, you're not going to get your maximum value out of it because I think he's going to have a really good year, personally, I think he's gonna have. I think a lot of people in the Browns still think that he's gonna have a really good year. I think I think Odell Beckham's about to have a crazy year. I think that he has a good year in front of him. So you can run the gamble of him. So basically, you can run the gamble of seeing if he's gonna have a good year or not. And if you have a good year this year, then you can trade him after that. But you probably won't trade him if you have a good year. So why would you trade him? So, but secondly, like Odell Beckham, when he's right, he's a top flight receiver. Like he stretches the field. And you could try to get somebody like Kenneth Galloway. You could try to get another top flight receiver, but it's gonna be really hard to find one. It's not like top flight receivers just grow on trees. I know there's a lot of good receivers during the offseason, but honestly, dude, just keep Odell Beckham and run it back with him. Run it back with somebody who knows your offense. Run it back with somebody who want to be here. Run it back with somebody who have chemistry with Jarvis Landry and who played with Baker Mayfield for the third. It's gonna be third year playing, being a part of the Browns, being a part of Cleveland. Kevin Stefanski loves him. I don't see the point of getting rid of somebody who's under contract, knows the offense, and is here. So I don't know. I wouldn't trade him. Honestly though,
you free up so much money, and then you can easily bring Higgins back. And then
so you're telling me that
you got so many options for Baker. Why do you need a guy who so far has just looked like he does nothing but make Baker make mistakes?
I mean, I just think that the sample size of Odell Beckham and Baker Mayfield was so small that we don't really have a good judgment of it, because last year, because people are going to turn to what happened in 2019 or 2018 and 2018 season. No, 2019 season, yeah. The 2019 season with what's his face? Freddie Kitchens. But I don't think that's fair, because Freddie Kitchens was with all due respect to you, Freddie Kitchens, was a freaking moron. Dude was a freaking idiot. So how are we going to judge somebody? How are we going to judge somebody's play and chemistry based off of offense that was set up by a freaking idiot? So I don't trust him. I don't trust that sample size. The one sample size we have is 5-6 games of Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham. And one of the games that I've seen what he did in Dallas. I see him go for 4 touchdowns in Dallas. I see him single-handedly destroy the Dallas Cowboys, and I talked smack to every single person in Arlington that day, to the point where one of them probably wanted to kill me. But yes. Don't trade that man. And no, I'm not going to. And like I said, I love Rashard Higgins. I would never pick Rashard Higgins over Odell Beckham. I think, but I do think, honestly though, if the Browns were to open up their wallet and pay Rashard Higgins a little more, I would not be upset. And,
I guess that's a pretty decent way of transitioning to the Bengals, because Rashard Higgins is a guy I would love for the Bengals to target in free agency.
I think as much as I would hate to see Rashard Higgins play for the Bengals, I think Rashard Higgins. I said last week, I think Rashard Higgins would be perfect. I think Rashard Higgins would be perfect for Joe Burrow.
I think he would, and it would give T. Higgins an opportunity to develop into that number one wide receiver that you really want. It doesn't threaten Tyler Boyd's position on the team. It still allows the other guys you got on the team to kind of develop as they are expecting to develop, and then you just kind of bring in Rashard Higgins to play that role that AJ Green kind of got shoved into last year. That it kind of seems like you're wasting AJ Green's talent having him be like the 4th string receiver. But if you got Rashard Higgins doing that, then hell, I think it's not a bad idea. So anyway, moving on to the Bengals topics of discussion. Like I said, weirdly enough, the most active team so far in the AFC North. I think the Patriots so far are the most active team in the NFL right now, but the Bengals are more active than you used to seeing out of them. And I'll tell you one thing: if you follow me on Twitter, you will see that I was pissed, just like a lot of Bengals fans were yesterday. You're waiting all day for some sort of news about somebody that the Bengals are going to sign, or the Bengals going to do something. They said they're going to be aggressive this year. They're going to do anything, and just hours go by, nothing. You hear, oh well, Carl Lawson's signing with the Jets now. Oh, that's not good. Joe Tooney, he got signed by the Chiefs, and you're just sitting here like, Man, it's going to be another year where we do absolutely nothing and sit on our hands. And one thing I said too was I said that the actual exact tweet that I sent was I've been a diehard Bengals fan for years, and don't get it twisted. I'm not implying I ever won't be, ever, by the way. But goddamn, it really feels like they don't try sometimes. I don't blame anyone for being pissed because we didn't, we didn't sign anybody. We didn't look like we were even trying to sign anybody. And I ended it by saying DJ Reader won't distract us all this time because that's what we did last year. We didn't do anything really on day one, and on day two, we trotted out DJ Reader as this, big, amazing signing that we made, even though we were all like, okay, so a defensive tackle, that's great. DJ Reader, great. He's a great, individually by himself, a great player who could do a lot of great things in Cincinnati, but we need offensive line. What are you doing? And so the Bengals so far this year, once again, haven't been making any they've been targeting a couple free agents on the offensive line, like Joe Tooney and Kevin Zeitler, our old the offensive guard we drafted back in like 2012 that we ended up letting go last time in free agency to you guys, and you traded to New York for Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah, Zeitler's good. Zeitler probably still, Zeitler probably still have a lot in the tank too.
I know, and the problem is the Mike Brown or whoever's negotiating contracts or whatever, the Brown family in general has proven time and time again that they do not value offensive guards for whatever reason. The interior offensive line, now they value centers. They've always they're not afraid to draft offensive guards, but they will never pay an offensive guard unless they have to. The only one I can ever remember them paying is Clint Bowling, and he wasn't that great. I really don't understand that. It must have been.
I don't get that. Thing. I don't get that. Cause what do you say? What do you say? Like, okay, so quarterback, right? Quarterback is probably the position in the league that you can play at the oldest age. What do you say? Offensive line is probably like the second or third, or kicker obviously, but
up until probably the last 10 years or so, offensive line probably was. I mean, other than kickers, kickers play forever sometimes, but offensive line was the one where those are the guys you see playing forever, and it was typically quarterbacks didn't play until they were 40. Until I mean they didn't for a long time, like between George Blanda and Brett Favre. There weren't a whole lot of quarterbacks playing that long, and now they kind of do, but that's a recent development.
Yeah, you could sign a early 30s offensive line to a big contract. Yeah, and they won't because they won't lose value because I don't know, maybe I'm weird, but I always thought about it this way: if it's your arms, I think your arms age differently. Everybody correct me if I'm wrong. But one thing that this is an observation. I have no numbers or stats or anything to back this up. But I always notice in sports when arms last longer than legs. So it's people who use their legs more usually have shorter careers than people who use their arms more. I don't know. That's something I just noticed. Well, if that makes sense.
Maybe, but I think offensive linemen use their legs just as much as anyone. Just like
that's true.
Power perspective. I mean, that's true. Where you generate your power from.
That's true. No, that's true. But they don't got to do the cuts. They don't got to do you do a lot. Like say you're a running back, right, or a receiver, even. There's a lot of wear and tear on those legs. Cuts and you got ACL tear. ACL tear to set you back so far. Well, in every position, I don't know. Maybe that's a weird take.
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
But it's just tore his ACL for the Bengals in the final game last season. So that happens to offensive linemen too.
I know it does, but I'm just thinking I'm thinking in a sense of all right, so pitchers, right? Pitchers in baseball, they last until they burn their arm out, obviously. But it pitcher, Roger Clemens pitched in his 50s. or Brett Favre, Brett Favre, he couldn't play receiver because he can't run. You wouldn't want Brett Favre playing receiver. But Brett Favre would still throw the ball in his 40s, like you just said. Tom Brady can still throw the ball. But I bet you Tom Brady ain't as fast as he was. I don't know. It just seems like arm strength lasts longer than leg strength.
I see what you're saying, and I kind of agree to the point that, like, I mean, offensive linemen do tend to last longer, and especially interior offensive linemen, because I mean, typically when like offensive tackles kind of wear down, sometimes they get pushed to the inside.
Yeah.
Um, for whatever reason, the Bengals have never put any value on that position. They're always trying to lowball guys, and they always end up just pissing off guys who are really, productive, talented guys, and who are just like, well, fuck you. If you're not going to pay me, then go away. And like Kevin Zeitler, back in the day, wanted to resign here, but we were essentially disrespecting him with lowball offers. And I think this, from what I understand, the same thing happened this cycle. He ended up signing with the Ravens, unfortunately, and a lot of that was because the Bengals were just not offering him what he wanted. And it's like I said, yet again another example of the Bengals not respecting the market value of offensive guards. And Kevin Zeitler in particular, it's the second time it's happened to him. Joe Tooney, once again, his sister actually was out on Twitter saying that the Bengals were actually Joe Tooney and Joe Tooney's family number one choice. He wanted to come to Cincinnati, but we sent him a low ball offer, and the Chiefs just offered more money. So, I mean, that's the way that we address this position. So I was gonna come on here last night. I messaged Thomas about this, and I'm like, I am gonna go on a rant. So be prepared for that.
But I was prepared for it too.
Well, since and I kind of got my rant out of the way just now a little bit, but since then, the Bengals actually have made two particularly big moves. They signed Trey Hendrickson, the defensive end from New Orleans Saints, who was actually the number 2 player in the NFL last year in sacks. I think he had 13 and a half sacks, only trailed behind TJ Watt. And so considering, I forget exactly what the numbers was, but Jake Lisco from the Locked On Bengals podcast tweeted out a breakdown of pass rush productivity or something like that, like like how much a guy created through pass rushing. And Trey Hendrickson and Carl Lawson scored about identically. Now, Carl Lawson's sack numbers were way down because he has no help on the Bengals, and unfortunately, Trey Hendrickson's going to have to deal with that too because we lost Carl Lawson. But it's essentially we made a lateral move, and he doesn't cost as much as Carl Lawson was going to cost because it's about $2.5 million less on the cap hit this year than Carl Lawson's contract with the Jets, and it's about $3 million less than the cap hit would have been if we had franchise tagged Carl Lawson, which most likely would have been what it would have taken to keep him back. So we saved about $3 million there, and that plus all the extra cap space we have, maybe we can go sign another pass rusher. It may not have been entirely the most sensible idea with Carl Lawson, but maybe with Trey Hendrickson, and we know he can produce. The biggest, question mark about Carl Lawson was, are those injuries going to come up and be a big problem? And as a result, is he going to produce? Well, we know Trey Hendrickson produces. We know Trey Hendrickson hasn't been consistently hampered by injuries. So, the potential is about the same, but I think the fact that he costs a little bit less is going to be useful.
I think Trey Hendrickson is going to be a great pickup. I still think that the Bengals are going to compete for playoff spot next year, possibly even make the playoff spot. I think
if we can get that, if we can really get the defense competing on the same level as the offense and maybe fix a little bit of that offensive line, I don't see why not.
See, you're not far though, man.
We got the quarterback. We got the offensive.
You're not far.
We just, can't really. It's like they need to be set up in positions to succeed in the first place for that to matter.
Okay, so you got a really good receiver. You got a really good receiver, and you have a really good receiver and T. Higgins.
And potentially Rashard Higgins coming in.
I like Tyler Boyd a lot. I like Boyd a lot. Boyd is a very solid receiver. Yeah. AJ Green's leaving, right?
AJ Green is, I mean, he hasn't left yet, but he is a free agent, and unless nobody offers him anything, if he goes out and nobody wants to pay him anything, then maybe he'll come back to the Bengals on a heavily reduced deal. But that's the only case scenario that has him coming back to Cincinnati. I've actually heard he's most likely going to go to the Green Bay Packers.
I don't think the market for AJ Green is going to be as lucrative as I don't think he's going to get a big contract at all.
I don't think he's going to get a big contract, but it'd have to be substantially dry, I think, for him to come back to Cincinnati. Because I mean, he would be the fourth string wide receiver. That's what it would be. He wouldn't have any role higher than that. He knows he's not going to have any role higher than that. He's never, if he comes back to Cincinnati, he's probably never going to have the opportunity to get a big contract ever again. It'd probably just be playing out his career, doing, a little bit, but mostly nothing the way he's been doing the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And so that's why I can't see him even really wanting to come back unless he really just doesn't have any other options.
So, all right. So you got you have Drew Samples, tight end, and then you have Joe Mixon, who's a really good running back. And then you have Joe Burrow as your quarterback. And then you just got to upgrade your offensive line. Y'all be a playoff team next year. I definitely think y'all can be a playoff team next year. Because I don't agree
if we can at least get the offensive line they were so bad last year. We just need them to be average. If they're at least average, then the offense will do pretty well. And then if we can get the defense to a point where they can put the offense in good positions to succeed, then I agree. We could be a playoff team next year. But that's a lot of ifs there.
Well, for one, I think the Colts are going to take a step back. Y'all know how I feel about Carson Wentz. I think I think the Dolphins are about to take a step back. I think the Dolphins are about to get too careless with this whole Tua thing. Mm-hmm. And I just don't like what they're doing with it. Is he a quarterback? Is he not a quarterback? Are we going to develop this kid? Are we not going to develop this kid? Y'all going to set up long-term issues for yourselves. I think they're going to. I think they
went out and they cut Kyle Van Noy, which was one of their big free agency signings last year. I understand he didn't have a great 2020, but I don't know, man. I'm failing to see Brian Flores' plan, and I know a lot of people really like Flores. I know a lot of people really think that he's got something good going on there, but I just haven't. I've seen him bring that team to respectability, but you got to be more than respectable to, do something significant in the NFL. And I don't know. I think Flores might have overextended his need to be kind of creative. And I think it's going to backfire on him this year. Personally, I don't have any problem with the Dolphins. I don't wish that on them. In fact, like I said, I got a friend who's a Dolphins fan, and just for his sake, I'd like to see the Dolphins do well. But I have trouble seeing it because the more Brian Flores kind of does weird things, the more I'm kind of like, I don't know about that. And you could tell the thing with Tua, like the whole juggling Tua between starting and not starting thing, just really did not work for him last year at all.
So yes, I think there's a legitimate path for y'all to make playoffs next year, and I don't think the Steelers are going to be as good as next year. So that's two playoff teams. I think the Titans. I think the Titans are going to plateau. Like they're not going to get better, but they're not going to get worse. Does that make sense?
Well, if the Colts are falling off, then I don't think it really matters for the Titans.
Yeah, it don't really matter because I think the Titans going to win. Yeah, I think the Titans are going to win that division next year, no doubt. I think the Titans are going to win that division, no doubt. But I just think that they're. But I think the Steelers. I don't think the Steelers and the Colts. If I were to pick two teams that made the playoffs this year that won't make the playoffs next year, I'd probably say the Steelers and the Colts. And so then that would mean that your competition would probably be. So that means y'all probably have to outlast teams like Miami. I think the Chargers. Believe it or not, I think that second year, I'm really scared of how Justin Herbert is going to be in his second year. I think that any argument that you can make about Joe Burrow, you can make about Herbert.
See, yes, I agree. But the problem is I just don't trust the Chargers as an organization.
Exactly.
Do what they need to do to actually take advantage. And that's what a lot of people are worried about with the Bengals and Joe Burrow. But I think the Bengals, believe it or not, are actually a far more competent organization.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Chargers.
No doubt. That's why I'm sitting here thinking realistically. I realistically think the Bengals can make the playoffs next year. Like I'm not just talking out my ass. Like I think that Joe Burrow. All right, so you got Joe Burrow come back for a second year. Y'all not really that far. Y'all really not that far. Like that offense is good. Well, that offense is really good. Y'all got to do something about that defense. But like on the low, like you don't need a good defense to make the playoffs in the NFL. You just need a competent defense.
Well, that's what they're trying to build. We spent a lot of money last year on the defense, and we're trying to spend some money this year. Now, the thing is, we're getting DJ Reader and what's his name, Trey Waynes back from injury. Hopefully, Trey Waynes actually freaking plays because that's starting to get annoying. Now, we also did before about an hour before we started recording. Actually, the Bengals made another free agency signing. It was Chidobe Awuzie. Dallas Cowboys cornerback who didn't play so well in 2020, which is probably why he ended up being a free agent. But in 2019, he had a Pro Football Focus grade of 72.2, which is not like, the be all end all of cornerbacks or anything like that. But considering the fact that you got Trey Waynes hopefully coming back, maybe we can also put draft a cornerback fairly high, maybe second or third round or something like that. You got an opportunity to hopefully rebuild this cornerback core, which has been decimated. Now, with Chidobe Awuzie, you're most likely not bringing William Jackson the third back, but I'm not entirely upset about that because as much as good of a start as William Jackson got out to in his Bengals career. He's I think I saw he was projected to be worth $13.5 million in free agency this year. And I'm just like, I don't want to pay that. The contract details for Chidobe Awuzie have not been released yet. So I don't know how much we paid him, but it's most likely significantly less than $13.5 million. I don't think at that price tag, I don't think William Jackson is worth coming back. Now he's a very good player, but he's been too injury prone. I don't think worth that kind of investment. By the way, just a little bit of not so much breaking news anymore, and obviously when you guys watch it, it won't be breaking news. But as we were recording this podcast, the Pittsburgh Steelers lost another free agent. They lost Bud Dupree earlier. I think it was today to the Tennessee Titans. They lost another defensive lineman, Tyson Alualu, to the Jacksonville Jaguars, which actually is where Alualu got his start. And weirdly enough, as I recall him actually being considered a bit of a bust in Jacksonville. And then he went to the Steelers and he started playing really well. Well, now he's going back to Jacksonville. So the Steelers, with all of their cap problems, and another thing I wanted to point out real quick is Mike Hilton, I want to say the slot safety for the Pittsburgh Steelers, was actually visiting the Bengals. Now, since we signed Chidobe Awuzie, I'm not sure if we're going to sign Mike Hilton at this point, but he's probably not coming back to the Steelers. So they are hemorrhaging talent right now on the defense in particular.
Well, I do have breaking news for the Browns. Because this is shot on a Tuesday in the middle of free agency, so we do have a free agent sighting. So let's get a little more exciting on this show. Do it again.
Okay.
We have breaking news. The Cleveland Browns have signed. Wait, hold on. Let me pronounce the name right. Tat McKinley.
No way.
Yes, to a 1-year deal to reach for $4 million. Play the horn back here.
If y'all will recall,
so a very team-friendly deal too. Only $4 million. Well, those are the type of deals that you need.
That's because he's completely fallen apart. He was a bust in Atlanta, and he actually was. Wait a minute, hold on. Is this? Hold on.
20.
Oh! As I was just saying that, we have some more breaking news. 11 minutes.
Oh, wait, hold up. Before you do that, let me just get the horn ready.
Okay, breaking news.
The free agent horn.
The free agent horn. The Bengals have signed free agent cornerback Mike Hilton, as I was just talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry. Say it again.
So-
I kind of horned you too early. Say it again.
Don't say that. Don't put it that way.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The
I
Bengals
kind
broken by, looks like Ian Rappaport 11 minutes ago. The Cincinnati Bengals have signed former Steelers cornerback Mike Hilton.
Okay.
So that means the Bengals' top three cornerbacks next year will likely, by the way, did not play for the Bengals last year because Trey Waynes was hurt all year. So you got Trey Waynes, you've got Chidobe Awuzie, and you've got Mike Hilton. So we pretty much just rebuilt the cornerback core. So I am excited to see what the Bengals cornerbacks are going to do next year. Mike Hilton, like I said, good slot corner. You got Chidobe Awuzie, who is high upside. Like I said, had a really good 2019 year. Didn't do so well last year, but then again, the Cowboys as a whole were kind of trash last year on defense. And then you got Trey Waynes hopefully coming back. I don't think he's going to perform as well as his high cap hit would entail, but hopefully him plus those other two are together going to put together a good cornerback trio for the Bengals. So pair them with Darius Phillips, who now doesn't have to play that number one cornerback role. I'm really excited about the Bengals cornerback room now going forward. So that is fantastic news.
As I read about this outside linebacker, Takk McKinley, the less excited I get. He got 69 on Pro Football. So, he's only 25.
Takk McKinley was considered to be a bust with the Atlanta Falcons, the team he got drafted to. And he actually bounced around a little bit last year. He originally was going to sign with the Bengals. And then he actually had everything was agreed. A contract was agreed, and he was going to be brought in the Bengals because the Bengals desperately needed pass rush help last year, if you recall. We had him signed. We had him ready. He was going to play, and then some sort of medical issue popped up, and the Bengals ended up backing out of the deal because they figured that medical issue was not something worth dealing with. And he went to the Raiders, and I don't recall him doing much of anything on the Raiders. So it's not a bad depth signing for the Browns, but
he's only 25.
It's all that exciting either.
He's only 25. We had gotten too excited. No, I'm joking, but he's only 25 though on the low. And why am I blanking on his name? The offensive lineman the Browns signed this year that is really, really good. Why am I blanking on this dude's name right now? He's our best offensive lineman. Wyatt Teller. Yeah, Wyatt Teller. Yeah. Wyatt Teller wasn't somebody who was a great running back. And he came to Browns, and the Browns do a fantastic job of just nurturing him, and he just becomes one of the best offensive linemen in the league. So sometimes we give them players too early in football or in sports. If they don't peak by a certain age, then we throw them to the curve. So he's gonna be the same age that Wyatt Teller was when the Browns signed him. So I don't know, man. Let's see what happens. I'm interested. Yeah. I'm interested to see, maybe, sometimes the Cavaliers, I know it's in basketball, but the Cavaliers general manager says that one thing that we like to do, one thing that we're going to have to do, or a way to build a team is to attack the second draft. So the first draft, a lot of times in sports, players leave college too early. That's a very common thing to happen in sports. And it's just funny, like in basketball, you have 19-year-old kids going to the NBA and they're like, oh, you're the franchise. Like, dude, I'm 19. And the fact of the matter is you're not at the athletic peak at 19. You're not at your energetic peak. You're not at your muscle peak. You're not at your intellectual peak. Nothing is peaking at 19. Everything is just potential. So everything develops, all potential develops in different rates and different ways. So if potential does not develop the way that you want it, then you are quick to give up on a 21-year-old or 22-year-old, even though people come into the league at 21, 22. Just that some people spent more time getting groomed than others. It's the same thing with football. In football, a lot of times, we have these players that come in at 21, 22, and they are expected to be this, and they're just not there yet. Sometimes things take time to develop. And a lot of times that second draft, I do not think that somebody with an athletic upside, if you have an athletic upside and you're only 25, 26, people shouldn't be giving up on you. If you're able, work ethic matters. How is your work ethic, and how much of your work ethic can you improve so you can bring out your highest potential? And maybe your potential might come out at that age, and maybe it doesn't. A lot of times it doesn't come out, but a lot of times people do find their potential later in their careers. So, just think of all the great athletes that did not peak in their early 20s. Even look at somebody like Drew Brees, for example. Didn't Drew Brees, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Drew Brees have a very wasn't Drew Brees didn't he have a very bad start to his career? Or wasn't not very bad, but wasn't the beginning of his career
I wouldn't say it was that bad. It wasn't
horrible.
He as you know, as I assume as most people know, he started his career with the San Diego Chargers, and he did well. He definitely took it to a next level with the Saints. Nobody was considering him one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time when he was with the Chargers. However, he was definitely he was definitely good enough to hold that job down in San Diego. And the only reason the Chargers even drafted Phillip Rivers is because they thought that Drew Brees was injured to the point that he'd never be the same again. That's why Drew Brees ended up in free agency, is because the Chargers drafted Phillip Rivers and all that fun stuff.
So I just think that players, I just think athletes don't hit their peak until they are older. I think that sometimes you give them players too early. So I don't know. Congrats. I'm not gonna jump out the window for this signing, but who knows? Give them a chance. I am looking at this thing from Ian Rappaport. He just retweeted this. The Bengals aren't done yet, so get ready, Bengals. I honestly think Cincinnati's gonna be a playoff team next year. I think the division is going to come down to the Browns and the Bengals next year. I think it's going to be the Browns and the Bengals fighting for first place in the division next year.
Yeah, I think. Okay. So once again, the big thing here for the Bengals are going to be competitive for the playoffs next year. They're doing a good job right now of shoring up that defense. Like I said, with the free agency that we had last year on defense. And this year, so you've got you've got DJ Reader and Trey Hendrickson teaming up on the defensive line. You've got hopefully, I think maybe one more signing or maybe a really good draft pick on an edge rusher would be a good idea. But you basically completely revamped your whole cornerback room. The only returning cornerback is Darius Phillips, who's a fine cornerback as long as he's not the number one. If he's like the number 2 or the number 3 cornerback, that's fine. The biggest problem with Darius Phillips is we were expecting him to be the number 1 cornerback, and he was not really suited to do that. The defense is definitely making a lot of strides. Still, for the love of God, do something about that offensive line, man. We're sitting here waiting. You still got, I think you've got. Actually, let me.
The offensive line literally injured freaking your best.
Yeah, so you've still got Trent Williams, Russell Okung, Rick Wagner, Gabe Jackson, Trey Turner, Larry Warford, Alex Mack, all guys like that still on the market. All of them could be useful in Cincinnati. I mean, with Trey Hopkins having that torn ACL, you don't know when he's coming back. I would love to go get Alex Mack, and then, when Trey Hopkins does come back, maybe you can move him to a guard position or something like that, or it'd be the best backup center in the NFL. I don't know. But although it'd be kind of a shame to waste him just sitting as a backup. But like I said, Larry Warford, Trey Turner, Gabe Jackson, all good, all great options at guard. Trent Williams, Russell Okung, Rick Wagner, all great options, offensive tackle. I wouldn't even mind going out and getting the two guys that the Chiefs released, Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher. The problem with theirs, you're wondering about how they're coming back from injury and stuff like that. But as we saw with Trent Williams, that's not necessarily that big of a deal because he missed a significant chunk of 2019, right, with cancer. Came back, was a Pro Bowl. Well, no, I think he missed all of 2019 with cancer. But anyway, point being, he came back in 2020 and was a Pro Bowl player again. So, I mean, I wouldn't worry. I mean, definitely, if you think the injuries are insurmountable and you don't want to pay the guy, fair enough. But there's so many guys out there. And honestly, if you can get them for the right price, I wouldn't mind taking a chance on Mitchell Schwartz or Eric Fisher, either of them. Now, again, with Schwartz, you don't know if he's going to retire or not. But if he doesn't retire, go get him, Bengals. Come on. I mean, that's literally that's like one more edge rusher and then an offensive line is all we need. And then at that point, I might start saying, along with you, Thomas, that the Bengals could compete for the playoffs next year.
There's still a lot of offseason to go.
Yeah, there's still a lot of offseason to go. And we're in position to go get Penei Sewell, so that's potentially shoring up that right tackle position. You
talked me into trading down, so I was a big fan of them trading down, but
I was a big fan. I'm still a big fan of them trading down, but
what's up with the freaking
at the same time,
Patriots?
If they get Penei Sewell, I won't be that upset.
What's up with the Patriots, man? Like
they know they need to make some moves to compete. That's what's up with the Patriots.
I mean, are they up to something?
Well, they're trying to gear up for another run. I mean, it's just because Tom Brady left doesn't mean that the Patriots are necessarily going back to the same team they were before Tom Brady.
I'm just wondering, are they up to something? Do they have their first round pick this year? They have their first round pick this year.
Yeah,
right?
They have a first round pick this year, but they're not.
Are they up to something?
First round pick though.
Are they up to something? Like I'm just curious, man. I feel like the Patriots are up to
something as anybody in the NFL, I suppose.
No, I know. I feel like the Patriots. So okay. So how you watch Dragon Ball Z and you destroy a villain. How they destroy a villain and the villain just goes away, and or it's just TV shows, right? Where we go all right, we have drained you of all your powers, so we're not going to bother to kill you. That's what happened with the Patriots. We took away Tom Brady, COVID, they have their players retire, and we're like, ha, Patriots, you guys are done. I just feel like the Patriots are going to come back for revenge. I feel like they're up to something.
Well, we'll definitely see. I think despite...
This is not going to be a traditional rebuild. I think they're up to something.
I think the division is still wide open. Now, I really like the Bills. But I don't think the Bills are a juggernaut necessarily.
No.
Like the Dolphins, I think are a maybe team. They might do well. They might not do well. The Jets, I think, are kind of potentially going to have a bounce back under Robert Saleh. But there's nobody in the AFC East that I really fully buy into to the point that I'm just like, there's no way that they're not going to win the division this year. So, I mean, if the Patriots do kind of, get back on schedule here with a lot of these free agent signings, yeah, you're right. They might come back. Now, I mean, at the same time, the NFL isn't like Madden. You can't just go out and sign a bunch of players and then expect them to automatically be good. But I mean, they got some pretty damn good guys. I mean, they got Matt Judon, Nelson Aguilar, Dietrich Wise. I mean, I don't think that's it. Those are just all the ones I'm seeing on the list right now. But I mean, they are active. They are definitely active.
Yeah, I just get the feeling that they're I mean, I don't know. Maybe Cam Newton got some fuel in the tank. Maybe Cam Newton got more fuel in the tank than we give him credit for. Maybe.
Yes and no. Jalen Mills. Wow. Kendrick Bourne. I believe that if surrounded by enough talent, Cam Newton could still win in the NFL. He's not the same caliber player that he was when he won the MVP,
No.
but he's still talented. And if you put enough talent around him, I think he kind of reminds me of like Andy Dalton at his peak, right? Obviously not anywhere close as far as play style goes, but as far as effectiveness goes, I think Cam Newton's not the kind of guy who's going right now. He's not the kind of guy who's going to elevate your team very much. But if you put the right players around him, kind of like back in the day with Andy Dalton, he could get to an MVP level again. 2015, Andy Dalton was playing at an MVP level until he got hurt. But a lot of that had to do with the fact that he was surrounded by so much talent. I think the same thing goes with Cam Newton, honestly.
Do you think that the Patriots are looking at either a free agent quarterback or are they looking at a quarterback in the draft?
Well, they already signed Cam Newton, so
yeah,
I don't think they're looking at a free agent quarterback at all. Maybe a guy in the draft. I think Mac Jones in particular, if they want to go high, Mac Jones I think fits really well in the Patriots scheme.
Yeah, I do too. I'm just curious. I'm just looking at this stuff. I'm just spitball out there. By the way, before we get too far, before we close this thing out, before we go forward, I really got to say something about this whole Von Miller thing. If y'all haven't been following me on Twitter, I have been tweeting at Von Miller religiously, telling him that he needed to get out of Denver and come to Cleveland. Well, Denver this morning decides to retain Von Miller. Why, Denver? Why do y'all need him? Y'all don't need that man. Let him come to a contender.
What do you mean they don't need him? And here's the thing:
what they gonna do with him?
Denver could
win 5 games.
Contender. If you put Joe Burrow on the Broncos, they're a Super Bowl team. They're not winning.
Yeah, but Joe Burrow ain't on the freaking Denver Broncos. I don't call them the Nuggets. What does Denver have for real, man? What are they gonna do? They're gonna win 5 games next year. They're gonna win 5 games. Who's the quarterback? Drew Luck? I mean, come on, man.
Well, maybe. I mean, there's been a lot of talk that the Broncos might go get somebody else too.
Exactly. Drew Luck is a maybe. Come on, man.
Drew Luck.
Free Von Miller, man. Them assholes. Could have let Von Miller go. Could have saved some money.
Obviously, Von Miller could have gone if he wanted to go, and he didn't want to go.
I know. My tweets didn't work.
Well, anyway, let's go ahead and start talking about the rest of the AFC North real quick. Just do a little overview of what they've been doing. The Ravens, in particular, have been the second most active team in the division, behind, again, weirdly enough, the Bengals. But it happened, or it's been happening so far. Let's see, I had my thing up. Okay, well, anyway, the Ravens, one thing I wanted to point out about the Ravens is fuck you guys for taking Kevin Zeitler. I'm tired of that guy going to other teams in the AFC North other than the Bengals, because that guy is talented, and that is going to be huge, by the way, for their running game, because that's when the Bengals running game was recently at its best, like at its top level of effectiveness and stuff like that. Part of it, Joe Mixon did pretty well last time Frank Pollock was here, but before that, it was when Kevin Zeitler was protecting the right inside, when he was our running game, that was when we had Jeremy Hill and Giovanni Bernard kind of tandem, and back before Jeremy Hill kind of fell apart. Man, I am not thrilled to see Kevin Zeitler going to Baltimore.
I'm not thrilled about Baltimore signing with the Broncos. Fuck you, Denver. I'm sorry. I'm in my feelings. Go ahead.
Other than that, the Ravens haven't really done a whole lot, other than they re-signed Tyus Belzer, they re-signed Pernell McPhee, and they re-signed Justin Ellis. But yeah, they haven't really done a whole lot so far. And the Steelers also have not done a lot so far. But I think we kind of knew that was coming. They don't have any money.
Yeah, I don't got no money.
They have made one outside free agency signing. You know who that was?
What?
BJ Finney.
you know, one thing about the Steelers though. You know the thing about the Steelers is just like the little kid that comes into the freaking store and like, I want some candy. Like, bitch, you don't got no money. Get out of this store.
Right. Well, like I said, the one outside free agent signing they've made so far, and really the only guy they've even been competitive for, is B.J. Finney, who, if you'll recall, was on the Bengals last year because he previously played for Pittsburgh. Ended up leaving after the Steelers put like the restricted free agent tag on him, and then afterwards he ended up going to the Seattle Seahawks. Didn't really do anything in Seattle, so they traded him plus a 7th round pick to the Bengals for Carlos Dunlap when Carlos Dunlap went kind of insane last year. And at first it looked like it was working out really well for the Seahawks because B.J. Finney never got on the field for the Bengals. And I don't even think he got on the active roster. I could be wrong about that, but Carlos Dunlap came in and gave the Seahawks a little bit of a boost to a pass rush that was absolutely abysmal before he showed up. He ended up putting up 5 sacks on the season after joining the team halfway through the year. So he did pretty good. He would have had, if he had done that with the Bengals, then he would have had 10 total sacks on the year, which that's not bad at all.
Yep.
But apparently it wasn't enough for the Seahawks because they cut him like a week ago. So Carlos Dunlap's on the market, and he ain't coming back to Cincinnati, I can tell you that. But he ain't going back to Seattle. So essentially, the Seahawks sent the Bengals a guy who never literally did nothing. That didn't even, like I said, I don't even think he got on the active roster for the Bengals, and a 7th round pick for a guy who the Seahawks rented for 8 games and ended up not doing a whole lot with. I mean, like I said, Dunlap did pretty well, but, he didn't last very long there just because his salary was so insanely high. But he's off the Bengals books, and that's what's important. The Bengals don't have to pay him that money anymore, and that's part of what allows us to go get guys like Trey Henderson, like Mike Hilton, like Chidobe Awuzie, and, perhaps more to come. I heard, now it's probably not happening anymore now that we've signed 2 cornerbacks, but we did have A.J. Bouye visiting here in Cincinnati. Like I said, probably not going to happen now because we got 2 cornerbacks, but yeah. So I guess the question is, who really won that trade with the Seahawks? I guess it depends on what the Bengals use that 7th round pick on. I've got my eye on Ihmir Smith-Marsette, and I hear the Bengals are actually maybe a little interested in him too. So if the Bengals can get him, get a good get a good like 6th string cornerback who also is a really good like kick returner, then maybe you could say the Bengals win that trade. I don't know. Also, freeing up all that salary cap space was a huge part of why that trade was such a good thing for us in the first place. But like I said, other than that, to get back to the Steelers,
that still sucks, Pittsburgh.
Do what?
That still sucks, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they still suck. And like I said, they're hemorrhaging talent. They lost Mike Hilton. They lost Bud Dupree. They brought in B.J. Finney. That's really all they've done. They also re-signed Ray McLeod for a year and re-signed Cameron Sutton. But once again, we're talking about a team that can barely afford to do anything. Oh, by the way, something I did not notice until just now, also talking about the state of the AFC North, Mark Ingram, former Ravens running back, is now a member of the Houston Texans.
Oh. Well, look at that.
Now, is that something that just happened now, or is that old news?
I'm just out hearing about that, but I haven't been.
Yeah, that's not.
Yep.
Look, that happened 4 days ago. Wow.
That escaped me too.
I must have missed that. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess Ravens
Just
lost Mark Ingram. Steelers are hemorrhaging talent. But the Ravens went out and got Kevin Zeitler, so that's huge. However, since Mark Ingram's gone, well, no, they got J.K. Dobbins. They'll be fine.
I'm trying to figure out. I don't know. I already think I wonder what the Ravens are going to do next year, because like, all right, so like last year, first of all, the Steelers. I already know how I feel about the Steelers. Steelers are going to. All right, so the Steelers. First of all, for the Steelers, I think the Steelers should start Mason Rudolph next year. I think Mason Rudolph. I thought Mason Rudolph looked really good that last game against the Browns. Just want to say that. I know the Browns secondary is trash, but Mason Rudolph looked really good that last game. He looked way better than Ben Roethlisberger did. With those weapons, I think Mason Rudolph will be a very comparable quarterback for the Steelers. I think the Steelers, if the Steelers start Ben Roethlisberger all year next year, I think that they're just holding on to the good old days. But I actually think I'm calling Bill Roethlisberger is going to get benched in 2021. He's going to get benched next year. I promise you. He's going to get benched.
Mason Rudolph?
Possibly. Or somebody else. But I think that Ben Roethlisberger is going to get benched next year. I think that he's going to get benched next year. I think this is his last year. I think he's going to be I think he or at least his last year with the Steelers at the very least. Like, I don't think he's going to be playing. I think this is his last year. I think that y'all better.
How desperate do you got to be to bench Ben Roethlisberger for Mason Rudolph?
Because I don't think because like honestly, I don't think that like it's gonna sound crazy, but I just don't think that I honestly don't think that Mason Rudolph is going to be as bad as he looked really good that last game. I think that they see something in Mason Rudolph that people aren't seeing. And as much as I hate to say it, because I don't like that dude. Yeah, I know I don't like that dude. But talent wise, I think that they might see something in Mason Rudolph. So, I just don't think I don't think that he might. I'm not saying that Ben Roethlisberger is going to get benched for Mason Rudolph, but I don't think that Ben Roethlisberger is going to be a quarterback of. I think by week 16, the starting quarterback is not going to be Ben Roethlisberger. And might have 18 weeks in the NFL, so there's that. But also like I just think the Steelers are going to be that good next year, or at least I think the Steelers might be a middle road team at best. I think they might be like 8 team or 7-9 team, or maybe even 9-7 team at best. But I think that you're going to get a Steelers team from 2 years ago, not last year. The Ravens, on the other hand, I think the Ravens are also going to take a step back. I think the Ravens are going to squeak into the playoffs this year, but I think it's going to be even harder for them to squeak into the playoffs. We kind of seen it this year where the Ravens started going that little losing streak in the middle of the season where people started figuring them out. People aren't afraid of the Ravens anymore. People aren't afraid of Lamar Jackson anymore because they realize they're just making them one-dimensional. The Ravens team, everything on the Ravens is based around Lamar Jackson. It's based around one player, and how long can that work in the NFL? How long can you just base your whole team around one player like that for so long? And I think the Ravens are going to take a step back. I know it's a Battle of Ohio podcast. I know it's a podcast with the Browns and the Bengals. So I know everybody going to say, yeah, you're biased to the Browns and the Bengals. Yeah, I am. But I'm also observing, and from my observation, the Ravens did not look good. The Ravens weren't good as they were 2 years ago, as they were last year. And they pretty much essentially brought everybody back. So what's happening is people are figuring out the Ravens. The Steelers are getting old. Those are two facts. Those are two things that are happening. The style that the Ravens play, the NFL is catching up to them, but it leaks adjust to everybody. So I don't think the Ravens are going to be as good as they were. I don't think the Ravens are going to be this world beater team. I think they probably make playoffs because I think they're seventh spots in the playoffs. I think the Ravens are still a top 7 team in the AFC, but I don't think it's going to be easy for them. I think they're going to squeak into the playoffs. I think that they're going to have to restructure their team eventually. And when I think about this division, I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it all off season. I think it's going to be the Browns and the Bengals for the AFC North. I think those are your two teams that are going to fight for the AFC North. But I'm just a crazy man on a podcast, so it's,
I mean that's fair. I think the Bengals in particular have a lot of work still to do to get to that point, but I definitely think it is certainly the door is open. I think you're right about that. The door is open for the Bengals to basically complete the switch of power with the Browns away from the Ravens and the Steelers. But like I said, it's still going to require it has to require something being done about that offensive line. If there's so far today, I've been a lot more pleased with what the Bengals have been doing than what they did yesterday. My opinion has definitely changed quite a bit since last night. But we have got to fix that offensive line. There is no competing next year if we are going in again with Bobby Hart at right tackle and
agreed.
Insert player here at left guard.
Agreed.
And in right guard for that matter, and whoever in Billy Price at center. Like, it's not going to work. I don't care how good you make that defense. If the offensive line gets Joe Burrow killed again, we are not competing for anything next year except for seeing if maybe we can get to 5 wins next year.
No, I completely agree. You got to do something about that offensive line. The offensive line got Joe Burrow killed last year. That man was running for his life. Y'all got to pick that man. And it's crazy what an offensive line could do for a quarterback. Like, an offensive line can make such a big difference for a quarterback. Y'all don't understand. I watched it firsthand in Cleveland. You just give man, like, spend some money on that dude on the offensive line. Invest in your future. Invest in your quarterback. Invest into Joe Burrow. And y'all got an opportunity. The Bengals, they have a legit opportunity to I think this is a golden opportunity for the Bengals to strike. And you got to strike. You want to take advantage of the fact that you have a young quarterback who is looking really good while he's on his rookie deal. Like, that's something you got to take advantage of. You got to take advantage of every second of that. So you have more cap flexibility now than you ever will. So, I mean.
Right. But anyway, I think that's probably going to do it for today's episode of the Battle of the Isle podcast. We will be back with you next week, probably wrapping up what happened in free agency, because today we're kind of talking about what's going on in the middle of all this craziness that's going on. Still a lot of guys left that need a home, a lot of, high-tier guys. I mean, you still got, like, Kyle Long, for example. That's a guy I would love for the Bengals to go after. You got Lane Taylor. That's another guy I'd love for the Bengals to go after. Lawrence Guy is a good inside defensive lineman. If the Bengals think they instead of getting another edge, maybe they can get somebody to put next to DJ Reader. I don't know. There's a lot of guys out there. Just real quick before we go, who would you say, Thomas, is if you could pick one guy for the Browns to sign who's still available, who would you want it to be?
Let me see. Let me think about this real quick, because I've been thinking about this. Definitely somebody who. Okay, so Richard Sherman's gone now, but not him, obviously. I don't know, because all the people I want are gone already. Like, I mean, my first answer would have been Carl Lawson, but Carl Lawson is taken, right?
Yeah, he's on the Jets now.
Some
of the best guys remaining. You got Trent Williams, Kenny Golladay, William Jackson. Unfortunately for us, he's definitely not coming back at this point.
Okay.
Sheldon Rankins, Jadeveon Clowney, Malcolm Butler, Desmond King, Russell.
Probably. All right. Actually, you know what though? Thinking about it, I'd probably say Malcolm Butler.
Malcolm Butler.
I think Malcolm Butler would be good.
So you want Malcolm Butler over William Jackson?
No, I don't actually.
Yeah.
No, I don't actually.
Yeah, actually, personally, I think Malcolm Butler's fine, but I don't think he's as good as his price tag indicates. It's the same.
Yeah, actually, no, I agree with you. I'll much rather have William Jackson than Butler.
Yeah, I don't think William Jackson is necessarily worth the $13.5 million he's probably going to command.
Why would Carl Lawson go to the Jets?
He's probably more worth that $13.5 million than Malcolm Butler would be worth $8 million. I don't think.
Yeah, man, but so that comes back to the conversation with Rashard Higgins, because I'm starting to think Rashard Higgins is going to end up resigning with the Browns because I'm sitting here looking at this y'all missed out on most of the big free agents. I mean, you're not going to give Clowney a big contract because Clowney,
I don't think Clowney's going to get that big of a contract.
No, yeah,
Like-
you're not going. Like, I wouldn't go. I mean, would you go out? I know the interest for Clowney was there last year, but now he just have a knee injury. And like,
That's
how
what I'm
is
saying. I don't think
Yeah.
he would get as big of a contract as maybe he might be worth.
Yeah, I'll probably go after that the player from the Bengals from last year. That's who I'll go after because like I wouldn't go after Clowney. There's probably like a lot of mid-tier. There's probably like a lot of mid-tier. There's probably like a lot of mid-tier defensive linemen because you gotta beef up that defensive line. You got a defensive line right now, and like I just feel like that I just want more pass rush help than just Myles Garrett. I don't think that we have enough right now. I just don't think we have enough right now.
Yep.
I just don't think we have enough.
Well,
Dang,
that's
Carl
fair
Lawson, dude.
That's
Carl
fair
Lawson.
enough. I do agree.
I wouldn't get Kenny Galloway. I know you want them to get Kenny Galloway and I think William Jackson would be a good addition actually.
I
Make that
personally the
second-
reason I'm not too upset about losing William Jackson is I just think he's more expensive than he's worth.
What about Melvin Ingram? What do you think about Melvin Ingram?
Melvin Ingram would be a really good addition. I would like the Bengals to get him.
Former
First-
edge for the Chargers.
Yep.
I like because you just signed a safety, right? So like so I'm looking at these edges, like Haraz Reddick. Did I say his name correctly? And I'm just looking at this from NFL.com. Oh, Patrick Peterson's still available. That's interesting. That's a There's actually a lot of good free agents still available. I wouldn't go after Clowney. I don't know. The injuries just scare me. I don't know why. Like I know they have him listed as a top free agent right now, but I wouldn't go after him. I don't know something that actually you know what who I actually like actually.
Who's that?
Generally that I did not realize was a free agent right now who hasn't been signed right now who you get on one of these team friendly deals. I wouldn't mind getting Eric Wilson from the Minnesota Vikings. I think that he'd be a good depth. I think he'd be a good depth signing. In fact, I think I'd rather prefer the Browns. They should go for more of these depth signings. And I guess one of the reasons why I like Eric Wilson is because he's from Cleveland. And that's why I was like, oh, Eric Wilson's available. I was like, oh, okay, I wouldn't mind getting this guy. But I mean, like, I think he'd be a good depth signing. Last year for the Minnesota Vikings, he had 3 sacks, 3 interceptions, and 60 assist tackles. I think that he'd be really good. I think that he'd be a really good depth signing. And you get him on these little team friendly deals. You get a couple of these linebackers and edge rushers for team friendly deals, and you just beef up your defense that way because you have so much cap space. I don't know. I wouldn't sign any one of these. I wouldn't sign any of these receivers or cornerbacks. Receivers or I wouldn't sign any receiver, running back, or tight end or anything like that. Stay away from offense. The only thing that I would sign on offense though, and I thought about this last night, and I want to say this on the podcast. I just not remembered this. I actually would consider signing Mr. Trubisky. And I know that's that's my hot take of the day. I got a lot of weird takes.
Interesting.
Okay. So I think that you get. I don't think that Mr. Trubisky's price tag is going to be that high. I don't think that his price tag is going to be terribly high. And I'm somebody who values the backup quarterback position in NFL. I know that Baker Mayfield started every single one of his games that he played since the Jets. He hasn't missed a game since. And I'm a huge Baker Mayfield fan. I don't want him ever get hurt or anything. But I think that it goes without saying the importance of having a good backup. The Saints, when Drew Brees got injured, they had 2 backups ready to go, and they didn't miss a beat when Drew Brees was injured, and it kept their momentum going into the playoffs. That's important. That's important. Having a good, solid black backup is very important. I think Mr. Trubisky will be a really good backup. Will be just really good insurance. Like, Mr. Trubisky is just insurance. And I wouldn't be opposed to the idea of getting a backup quarterback like Mr. Trubisky who's going to be cheap and going to be good insurance for Baker Mayfield, but could also learn behind a great mind of Kevin Stefanski to get his game back on track. I think it's a win-win for all parties. So I just throwing it out there. I wouldn't mind the Browns get Mr. Trubisky. I'm not saying they should do it or they should go out and do it. That's the target. But actually, no, I am saying they should do it. Do it because I think that he'd be a better backup than Case Keenum. I think that there's upside there. And then if he turns out, and then say if Baker does get injured for a short period of time and Trubisky does a good job, then you always trade him for more pieces. Or even you could trade him for more pieces when somebody's desperate for a quarterback. I think Mr. Trubisky would be a good signing. Just throwing it out there.
That's fair. But anyway, like I said, I think that's probably going to do it for today's episode. I think those are all good insights from you, Thomas, about the Browns' needs. But at this point, all we can really do is just kind of see what they actually try to do. I don't think I think they'll probably stick with Case Keenum personally. But
yeah, they probably will.
We'll see what happens. Mitch Trubisky would be a fine backup, I think, because he'd give you a little bit of potential. But anyway, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thanks for listening, everybody. You can, if you want to follow more of what I do, for basically just me talking more about the Bengals and stuff like that, you can follow me at Kyle Phelps 92 on Twitter and Facebook.com/ThePhelps. You can find Thomas at T_star94 and Twitter and Instagram. And he's got a YouTube page called Blowdown Page. Good comedy videos and the like. So, that'll pretty much do it for today. Thanks for listening, everybody, and I'll leave you with a hoo-day.
Go Browns.